Do you like it like this, or you prefer this?
Well, do you get the light from the window? Because if I do this, then if I move, I'll cover the Shostakovich.
Who is that? That's Rubinstein next to Shostakovich?
Brahms.
Right.
Brahms.
But we don't have him.
No, you don't have.
Okay.
He's dead.
Yeah.
I was a happy child. I was not one of those kids who practiced 10 hours a day. He was such a great father that's basically my example, who I should be as a father. And I'm trying to be smart now, right? With this haircut, this coronavirus haircut stuff. I was already interested in magician things that Naumov was doing. Way of teaching was always like this. He was kind of crooked, and he was like always saying, "Can you play more simple? My English is not so good. It's okay."
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
I have a question about your teachers, your two major teachers, Tatiana Zelikman and Lev Naumov. Could you tell us what was something that you learned as a person and as a professional pianist from Tatiana Zelikman, and then what was the change when you started taking lessons with Lev Naumov? Was there something completely new that you discovered studying with Lev Naumov?
When I was with Tatiana Zelikman, it's so people would understand. It's been a special music school where you basically spend entire life. You start at the age of 5 and then graduated at the age of 18, and that kind of formula was special even for Russia. There were only 8 schools of that kind in that time, and it's like growing up with having a, I don't know, second mother, or a person who you see twice a week, who is so influential on you. Actually, I would compare it to your family. It becomes your family. She treated all her students as family, and with pros and cons of that, you know. And the sweetest person at the kitchen, and probably the scariest person at the piano. I think the major thing that she taught me was this dedication to the cause, and understanding that the bar is set so high. So the sense of responsibility that you take, learning music and working with the piece, has to be immense. I was a happy child in the sense that I had a very good balance between the school music and, let's say, soccer or football, speaking of European language. I was not one of those kids who practiced 10 hours a day, and nobody ever required that of me. But I had so many interests besides music.
Я думаю, что мы, безусловно, отличаемся от наших сверстников тем, что у нас интересы не такие, как у других. Например, если у других ребят интересы побольше гулять, там, поехать в какую-нибудь туристическую поездку, у нас такое очень редко. Мы гуляем, и чаще всего мы уделяем времени место чтению, слушанию музыки.
When I got to Naumov's class, it was very strange because now nobody was telling me what to do. And that was the first shock, when now it's apparently now you have to come up with most of the answers. You are going to be shown the path, the direction, but you have to figure it out yourself. And I remember the first year was very interesting and struggling at the very same time. If when Naumov died, and we had lots of concerts and presentations in his memory, one of his students, Ivan Sokolov, he tried to explain the method, because that was always a question, explaining the method of Lev Naumov. Unfortunately, I cannot show it in English because it would make no sense, but in Russian, there are a lot of jokes about it, how he's asking you to be simple, and his way of teaching was always like this. He was kind of crooked, and he was like always saying, "Can you play more simple, please?" And we were always laughing about it. And it's hard to really pronounce, verbalize his method, but it was all about imagination. It was all about the almost theatrical feeling of music. He would always conduct. He would always lead you in some sort of a different dimension. There would be constant referrals to poetry, to literature, to paintings, to it's all this big background.
Я не знаю, как у тебя, у меня это связан, пожалуй, образ какой-то раненой большой птицы, которая последний перед смертью полет совершает. И она даже крылья, огромные крылья, она почти не машет, а на бреющем полете пытается долететь. И вот это вот какое-то страдание, очень сильное впечатление.
But interesting enough, to sort of, for me, everything became very clear at the very last lesson, because I was his last student, and I saw him last before I went for Cliburn. And in our very last lesson, I don't know why, but I brought him a piece which I was not supposed to play at the Cliburn. It was Schumann Kinderszenen. And what was great about Naumov is that, he had 100,000 trillion students, and he heard every piece 10,000 times. But what was great about him, when he would open the score in front of you, it seemed like he saw it maybe for the second time in his life. He was so fascinated with everything what he saw. And he opened the score and he said, music, before we open the score, the music is perfect. Once we open the score, we start spoiling it. So let's try to spoil it as less as possible.
I wanted to talk to you about teaching. I've been sort of following your career, and it seems like teaching plays a pretty large role in your life. And you started teaching when you were, I think, 23. This is what I read at the Gnesin Academy. Then came the Columbus State University, New York University after you moved here, and now you're at the Eastman School. Can you tell me something about your teaching, your experience as a teacher? Was it a necessity, or is it a passion of yours?
It started, obviously, and it is a passion, because I graduated from Moscow Conservatory. And that year, Tatiana Zelikman, she was appointed a full-time professor at Nessun Academy. And I went to her, I said, do you need an assistant? And she said, because somehow when I graded, I was already interested in this magician things that Naumov was doing, you know. I was taking it as a magic, and I was really fascinated. How does it work? It's something you have to be on the other side to understand it. And she said, I would love to have an assistant, but I can't, because her rank at that time did not allow her to have an assistant. But she said, my husband, Vladimir Trop, who was a renowned professor, a phenomenal pianist, he was without an assistant for a year. And he said, he would love if you come. I entered conservatory doing my master's degree at the same time when I started teaching Nessun Academy. And people were like, what? Why are you doing this? And but the faculty of Nessun Academy, I thought, always been not, as competitive as Tchaikovsky Conservatory. I mean, they had, if you think of it, Neuhaus taught there, Naumov taught there, different times, of course, but it's an iconic place with lots of history. I started realizing that teaching helps my own playing, in the sense that we do a lot of things intuitively. But now I have 18-year-old. Now I'm 23, right? And I have the 18-year-old. I have to explain to him verbally, with words, things that I would not even bother explaining to myself. And then, of course, as being a young teacher, the first mistake I made, I tried to make them play like myself. And then quickly, I realized it's not working. And then I remembered Naumov, who was an excellent psychologist, individualist, you know, who didn't believe the students. You know, there was a human being in front of him, and with his own ideas, and he respected it so much. And so the responsibility was not to destroy the ideas, but maybe just polish them, you know, shape them. And then when I moved here, I didn't apply for a job. I was kind of enjoying my life as it was. And then I got a phone call about this new school in Columbus State, where a new program. And that was very interesting, because they said, well, you can do whatever you want. You can travel, you can, you know, you don't have to have a lot of students, and you just recruit your students yourself. And there's some scholarship for that. And that was a great journey. And I think that was absolutely a turning point in my life. Everything really shaped since then. And Eastman, obviously, the place where you have iconic people walking in the corridors, and you're like, what am I doing here? And what's really fascinating about Eastman is that there are special students coming there. They're very passionate. They're just special. It's a very different kind of students. They're very enthusiastic. They have lots of interests, and you learn a lot from them. Really, very diverse community. I don't have any student in my studio who is from Rochester, and the load is heavy. It's a big university, big program, heavy classes, theory and music history and all that, and plus piano lessons, and they give their best. The curiosity, I think that's the major engine. If you're curious, then you're gonna get somewhere, I think. And I'm trying to be smart now, right? With this haircut, this coronavirus haircut stuff.
Is it homemade?
Oh yes, it's very
haircut.
And it's already long, you know. It's been almost like very little, very little. Yeah, that's my wife. She just took the razor, and it's been done.
We have a guest here today with us, Matthew Chang, 11-year-old student, a third prize winner of the Kosciuszko Foundation Chopin Competition for Young Pianists.
Good morning.
Good morning. So happy to see you, and we're super excited to to hear you play. Can you tell us what are you going to play for us?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to play the Etude Opus 10, number 8 by Frédéric Chopin.
Looking forward, please.
Bravo. See, now you understand why we all have to retire. Because when people play like this at the age of 11, you know, that we have nothing to do. Bravo, Matthew. Sounded great, really. And I wish you all the best with your music. And make sure you play some sports, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, sitting is bad for you.
Matthew, did you prepare any questions for Mr. Kobrin?
Yes, I have one. So, what do you think Chopin's intention is when he creates a certain etude? Does he have what inspires him to make that certain one? Is it for educational or entertainment purposes?
Well, you know, actually, there is a lot in your answer already, in your question already. You know, when he wrote first two etudes, he called them exercises, literally.
Oh.
Yeah, and then he wrote the third one, and then he changed the wording. And so I think in every Chopin piece, you can always, it's a beautiful piece of music. And his etudes are called etudes only because they're difficult. But it's just a difficult way of expressing most beautiful pieces of music imaginable, you know. And of course, his intention was to show off, basically, right? I'm not sure he really cared about us playing his music in this sense. But it's fun to play, and most importantly, it's beautiful. And so I think you're treating this piece very nicely in this way, and always do that. Always see the beauty first, and you have great fingers. You have no problem.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Imagine there is no piano competition at all. Would you be yourself? Would you be here? How would you imagine your life without any of the competitions?
I can't tell. And that would be pure speculation because we live in such world that is a constant competition by itself. Again, we're talking about different times. When I was competing, there was no Facebook. At that time, there was no social media. So people would read newspapers and, watch PBS was like a hit, Mezzo, all these TV channels. Where else would you hear music that's been played all over the world, right? Now you don't need any of that because you have YouTube, you have Facebook Live, everybody live streaming everything they should and shouldn't, and all of that. So we'll see where this world takes us away from this online way of life, which to me is kind of sad because I'm very conservative in my beliefs. I believe that there is nothing more. Nothing could replace the human contact. So would I be where I am now? It's all in Torah. It says it's all written, right? So if you take that perspective, eventually probably I should end up where I am.
Stanislav asked you about who would you be or where would you be without competitions. I wanted to ask you about who would you be if not a musician?
Oh, it's a great question. Probably historian.
Historian?
Yeah, my mom is a historian, and that was always my passion. In school, that was, I think, #1 subject which I admired, and I was good at it. Definitely, I would go in that, or an actor, which my mom wanted me to be. She wanted me to be an actor, and because she thought that I had all the talent for it. Because since I was a baby, I would never be Alex. I would be anybody else from all these books and fairy tales and things like that. And actually, that's my 3-year-old is acting right now exactly the same way. And yeah, probably that too, history or acting. Yeah, but ultimately, musicians, we are actors. Let me be a philosopher here.
Inside music, have you ever thought of something else like composing, conducting, maybe jazz?
Composing started at the age of 7 and ended up pretty much there. Conducting, show me the pianist who never wanted to be a conductor. Come on, people. And what else did you say? Jazz. I love jazz all my life. My passion. I always felt shy to improvise. I thought I'm very bad at it, and my friends told me, you can't be bad in it. You just never try it. I'm too lazy, and I think I'm just lazy. And piano, and there is so much more things that I didn't learn yet, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm thinking, well, I just too lazy. But maybe someday when I will have so much free time, I hope it will never happen. But if I have some free time, then I will definitely go to conducting. I'll be like those 60-year-old students. But that's fine.
So you have not started conducting?
No. My experience, I tried violin when I was 11. And my problem with that was that I had a perfect pitch. And I couldn't stand what I'm doing on this violin. So it took me about 3 days to realize that just do the piano. Piano is tuned, you're fine.
When we were in Italy and we were on the train and we were talking, you were saying, okay, you need to conduct. You were telling me, you need to conduct. You need to be a conductor. And I'm going to soon. I'm gonna study conducting in Italy. You were telling. So this is what stayed with me. So I actually did study conducting. But you were the person who made me think that I should conduct.
Как восприняли твои родители победу?
Очень хорошо, как всегда. Все мои успехи они воспринимают хорошо.
А неудачи как? Бывают?
Ну, неудачи тоже своеобразны.
A few times you already mentioned your parents. I want to talk to you about your parents' influence on you and what role they played in forming you as a musician.
My dad, who is a piano teacher, and he's a director of School of Music, but on top of it, he was teaching kids all his life. And so he was so good at it, and he knew child psychology, and he never forced me. He never forced me to play. When I was maybe in my first, second grade, I would practice maybe an hour and a half a day. And my mom, who heard all these stories about how other children are practicing, are you sure you're doing the right thing? I mean, are you sure it's enough? I said, yeah, that's all it takes. I mean, I want to make sure he plays outside, and he gets some fresh air. And my mom, she was, as I said, she was a historian. She is still working at the Kremlin Museum, and she opened a vast of information for me in this sense. In terms of history influence, and really, getting me hooked on it. But they're both very loving parents and very supportive. I think I wouldn't go through the school without support of my father, because there was a moment when I came to him and I said, I quit, and I'm not going back there anymore. And it took him. He hated calling professors. He talking about it. He would put all his trust in this, but that time he did, and I think that saved the day. He's been a great friend, and that's also he was such a great father that's basically my example, who I should be as a father for my kids. Because I think I just don't see any failures. I think he was a perfect dad in all possible ways.
How is Alex Kobrin during the quarantine? Do you still practice regularly?
That's the best thing about it. So now I can practice more. It's so wonderful.
Last time you touched the piano, what was the piece?
Last time I touched the piano was Hammer Clavier. I'm learning it now.
Mm-hmm. How is it going?
It's Hammer Clavier.
Can you tell us about Alex Kobrin, the family man?
Kids are very confused why Papa is spending so much at home. Something is not right. When are you leaving? I'm getting educated by my kids. It's wonderful. And I also have a 14-year-old who doesn't live with me, but he is educating me in the best possible way. He's my IT guy.
Quarantine morning, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Quarantine evening, a glass of wine or a shot of vodka?
Quarantine evening, teaching students in upside down time zone. That's what it is.
The most stupid question a musician can be asked in an interview.
What is your favorite composer?
What's Alex Kobrin recipe to stay positive?
To stay positive? It's funny because I'm the most paranoid and worrying person. I can be very ridiculously funny and stupid and say, have kids. They'll keep you positive. And of course, if you're a musician, then practice.
The most memorable failure on stage?
The most memorable failure on stage? I tell you, 1999, Busoni competition, concerto, Chopin E minor, orchestra is modulating into F sharp minor, I'm keeping in E major.
It's because you're so positive, that's why.
Of course.
What is the first thing you will do after the isolation is over? Is there something you're missing right now in your life that you can't do?
Probably I will go and shake hands.
Hey, what did you think about the episode?
Yet another fabulous journey.
And this time into your neck of the woods. You know, all this time during the interview, I was thinking, he was such a big influence on you.
Yeah, in my teens he was one of my biggest influences.
Wow. And then years later, you get to interview him. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very special talking to him. You know, the people and the places he was mentioning. I was there, I knew the people.
Yeah. Also Matthew. What a talent, huh?
Absolutely. The young artist presentation and the dialogue are my favorite parts of these episodes.
Mine too. Well, soon we have another guest. And let's better buckle up for that one.
Seatbelts on. Let's do it.
Let's do it.